It's actually like section 7, I guess. The introduction to the narrow road to the deep north. Basho. During the 2-year period, we are now dealing with 2 anthologies of great importance were published. They are A Gourd and a Coat for a Monkey, the 4th and 5th of the major anthologies. The former is a slim volume consisting of 5 linked verse, but the latter is a large collection of some 400 poems, haiku, plus 4 linked verses on the essay on Vision and Inhabited House. It is generally believed that those 2 anthologies demonstrate the mature style of Basho Sofu as its highest pitch. To quote some poems, haiku, from this period. A man's voice piercing through the air, the northern stars echo a beating falling block. In the first shower of early winter, even a monkey seems to crave for a raincoat. Under a cherry tree, soap, salad, and all else are brought to us dressed in gay blossoms. With a friend in Omi, I sat down and bid farewell to the departing spring most reluctantly. If nothing else, I have this tree at least to take shelter in, a pasania in summer. Hardly a hint of their early death. Cicadas singing under the trees. Under the bright moon, the children of the vicinity all lined up on the porch of a temple. A 6 stray goose falling into cold darkness. I slumbered by myself a night on the journey. For his tea, a priest sits down in utter silence, confronted by chrysanthemums. With your singing, make me lonelier than ever. You solitary bird, cuckoo of the forest. A white narcissus and a white paper screen illuminate each other in this quiet room. Now, taken at the surface level, all these poems are purely descriptive. But if one broods upon these poems long enough, one realizes that they also have a symbolic quality. The symbolic quality inherent in the poem is called by Basho Sabi, loneliness, Shiori, Siori, tenderness, and Hosomi, slenderness. That's loneliness, tenderness, and slenderness. Interesting. Depending on the mode of its manifestation and the degree of its saturation, the symbolic quality inherent in the poem is called by Basho Sabi, loneliness, Shiri, tenderness, Osomi, slenderness, depending on the mode of its manifestation, the degree of its saturation. Although definition of these terms in any strict manner would only lead to misunderstanding. Let us take, for example, what Basho says through the mouth of a disciple about Sabi. Sabi is the color of a poem. It does not necessarily refer to the poem that describes a lonely scene. If a man goes to war wearing a stout armor, or to a party dressed up in gay clothes, or if that man happens to be an old man, there is something lonely about him. Sabi or something like that. It is in the poem regardless of the scene it describes, whether it is lonely or gay. In the following poem, for example, I find a great deal of Sabi. Under the cherry, flower guards have assembled to chatter their hoary heads together. In other words, Sabi is the subjective element deeply buried in the objective element of the poem, but giving it a profound wealth of symbolic meaning. It is indeed by these qualities of Sabi and Sori and Hosomi that Basho's mature style is distinguished from the styles of his predecessors or his own immature style. It is necessary, I believe, for us to turn at this point to the special features of Basho's linking technique. I have already pointed out that Titoku's linking technique was based on verbal association, mano-suki. Soyen's on clever interpretation and ingenious transfer. Basho, in this case, the link is provided by what he calls the aroma, nioi, echo, ibuki, countenance, omakaki, color, utursuri, rank, kurasi of the preceding poem. Here again, the strict definition of the individual terms would only cause confusion, but let us take an example. What Basho, again through the mouth of a disciple, says about hebiki. When you hit something, the noise comes back to you in a manner of an instant. This is what I mean by hebiki. In the following pair, for example, the second poem is a perfect echo of this first. Against the wooden floor, I threw a silver glazed cup, breaking it to pieces. Look now, the slender curve of your sword half drawn. Even though this brief explanation, I think it is clear that the special features of Basho's linking technique exist in its imaginative quality. Instead of lashing the poems together forcibly by wit or ingenuity, Basho moors them, so to speak, with a fine thread of imaginative harmony, giving each poem fair play. It is indeed by virtue of this imaginative linking technique that Basho was able to achieve the poems. I got some coming up. An unprecedented degree of perfection in his linked verse. Let us quote here the first few of the linked verse collected in Saramino as an example of his superb effect. These are poems. Home. Combed in neat order by the first shower of winter, thick plumage of a kite. The storm having passed, fallen leaves have settled themselves on the ground. Early in the morning I wade across the swollen river, my trousers in water. Silent air is broken by farmers ringing piercing alarms to drive a badger away. In twilight, the horned moon reaches to the ruined lattice door through an overgrown ivy. Here is a greedy man who keeps to himself the beautiful pears ripe in his garden. Here is indeed something that is comparable to Soki's masterpiece in seriousness and elegance, and to the best of Soyan's poems in freedom and energy. Basho is indeed something that is comparable to Soji's masterpiece in seriousness and elegance, and to the best of Soyan's poems in freedom and energy. Basho returned to Edo from his third major journey after 2.5 years of wandering. In the winter of 1691 and the spring of the following year, a new house was built for him. Basho spent the next 2.5 years in this house for a number of reasons. However, Basho's life of this period was not a happy one. An unusual degree of ennui is expressed in the essay he wrote in 1693 to announce his determination to live in complete isolation. If someone comes to see me, I have to waste my words in vain. If I leave my house to visit others, I waste their time in vain. Following the examples of Soki and Togoro, therefore, I have decided to live in complete isolation in a firmly closed door. With a firmly closed door, my solitude shall be my company, and my poverty my wealth. Already a man of 50, I should be able to maintain this self-imposed discipline. Poem. Only for morning glories I open my door. During the daytime I keep it tightly barred. Two anthologies of importance were the product of these 2.5 years in Edo. They are Fukagawa-shi and Sumidawara, a charcoal sack, the latter being the 6th of the major anthologies. In the poems Basho wrote during this period, however, there was a strange sense of detachment from life, which sometimes produced a slightly comic effect, what Basho called karumi, lightness, but at the other times a somewhat somber effect. For example, poem. A bush wobbler coming to the veranda edge left its droppings on the rice cakes. The wild cries of a cat having been hushed, the soft beams of the moon touched my bedroom. Warming myself at an ashy fire, I saw on the wall the shadow of my guest. The voice of a cuckoo dropped to the lake where it lay floating on the surface, confined by winter. A man is guarded by an age-old pine on the golden screen. An audacious quickness, the spring sun rose over the mountain paths, sweet scent of the plum in the sky of 8 and 9 yards above the willow, drizzling rain.